Anyways, let's go to
Texas Governor Greg Abbott refusing to give up control of the Texas border to federal officials, saying the state will not give federal agents full access to Shelby Park today. That ignores a deadline set by the Biden administration, which is today. Instead, Abbott is installing more razor wire following a Supreme Court order allowing federal agents to start removing it. Texas now receiving support from 25 Republican governors, all backing Governor Abbott's border actions, blaming the Biden administration for the crisis. Former President Trump wants to take it one step further. He's now encouraging these states to deploy their National Guard troops to Texas to prevent.
wow, National Guard troops. I want to see this graphic. Republican governor standing with Texas right here. So pretty much the whole Old South. That's not surprising. Excluding South Carolina here. No, that's North Carolina, my bad. Excluding North Carolina, but the whole Old South block is in. Not surprising. New Hampshire, Virginia, West Virginia, Ohio, Indianapolis, Missouri. What is that? Idaho, North Dakota, South Dakota, Wyoming. Oh, this is Idaho over here. Nevada, Utah. So there's a good block up in the north that freaking Alaska. Alaska, okay. I guess Alaska, what are they going to contribute to this? They're going to send some people over? Does Alaska have a National Guard? I guess so. Anyways, this graphic is pretty interesting right here. Of course, you got California is not involved. Washington, Oregon. Well, but what's surprising is these are border states here. You got California, yeah, these are border states here, but they're right next to Texas. This is the same border that they're talking about right here. Arizona, New Mexico. They're not down with this. I wonder why.
Blaming the Biden administration for the crisis. Former President Trump wants to take it one step further. He's now encouraging these states to deploy their National Guard troops to Texas to prevent illegal crossings. Trump's vowing that if he becomes president again, he's going to work with Abbott to seal the border. Writing, quote, Biden says let in those should not get it comfortable because they will be going home. I want to bring in Texas Congressman Lieutenant Colonel Keith Self. Congressman, good morning. Governor Kristi Noem already saying, yes, I would send National Guard troops. Is that something that you think that Texas is open to? And is that a move that needs to be made now?
Well, that will be up to Governor Abbott. But I think the border has now reached the boiling point that you now see governors getting involved. We have a trucker convoy coming down to the border. The American people are going to have to get involved. I'm delighted to see 25 governors support Governor Abbott. And yeah, I think we're going to have to be aware that the president can federalize the National Guard, but it would be much harder if 25 governors sent their National Guard troops to the border to support Texas.
Karine Jean-Pierre has been asked about this, and of course she's defending her boss, President Biden, but her response is always interesting. It still seems to be a gaslighting type of response from her. The border is secure. We're working on the border. Secretary Mayorkas, we're very aware of the issues down there, but their goal is to process migrants, not to stop the flow of migrants across the border.
Yeah, process migrants. That's what they're supposed to do, right? That's what their job is, right? Like, the argument is we don't know who these people are. They could be rapists or terrorists or, people from other countries who want to overthrow the country or whatever. Well, when they're processing the migrants, that's the kind of stuff that they're doing when they're processing them, is kind of trying to determine who they are and what they really want or whatever. Like, I know a lot of my viewers are probably not going to be happy with my comments on this particular topic, but you know, I'm always standing on the same square when it comes to this particular topic. But yeah, it's super political, it's super over politicized. Not to say that there isn't an issue at the border. Both sides agree there's an issue at the border. It's just that, you know, one side wants to push this to an extreme, like it's an invasion happening, you know. And then when you want to send funds down there to help them deal with the situation, they don't want those funds. It seems like they just want to continue to scream that it's an invasion, that, you know, that there's a problem, you know. Processing people is what you do, right, at the border. You know, many people come through the border, like they say, we want the border to be closed. Okay, well, if the border is closed, then that means that there's no movement going to or fro. You know what I'm saying? How could you determine if someone is an American citizen or not if you're not, you know, asking people questions or whatever, you know?
Cheryl, I was on the border just 3 weeks ago, and that's exactly what the Border Patrol is doing. They have 72 hours to process the illegal immigrants, turn them over to ICE or a nonprofit to move them into the interior of the United States. They are not there to stop the invasion. And that's perfectly.
He said they have 72 hours to process them and either hand them over to ICE or allow them into the interior. And then he goes on to say they're not there to stop them. So if they're processing them and they hand them over to ICE, then that means that they're going to be deported, right? That means that they're not going to be able to come into the country, right? The way he worded that was like they're just allowing everybody to come in, when he just said that they're processing them and some of them come in and some of them are going to be handed over to ICE.
Clear to anyone that's been on the border, anyone that sees the videos. At one point during the tsunami of probably a month ago, there were no Border Patrol agents actually in the field. They were all in the office processing paperwork during that tsunami.
Let's talk about this.
During that tsunami, they were all in the office processing paperwork, and that's what their job is. And the federal government was offering funds so that they could have more guys out in the field, but Texas said, no, we don't want that. So then in that case, it would have been more people in the field, you know, instead of all of them in the office.
Trucker convoy, you brought this up just a moment ago. So this is called Take Our Border Back. It kicks off Monday. So you've got multiple starts. You've got trucks leaving from Virginia Beach that are going to go through Texas, Arizona, California. On the website, it describes the event as a peaceful assembly, encouraging all freedom-loving and law-abiding Americans to attend. I saw that you posted on X to raise awareness about that. You obviously just mentioned it a moment ago. I understand that you're going to be speaking once they get to Eagle Pass. I also see that, you know, it's going to go through Yuma. It's going to go San Ysidro, California as well. 700,000 vehicles. That's the prediction here. How do you keep that, well, peaceful? And on
700,000 vehicles. I doubt that that's going to be the number. They love to inflate this kind of stuff. Can y'all hear me? Hold on. I doubt that that's going to be the number. Okay, yeah, so they're projecting 700K truckers will take part in the convoy. But the news is all like, you have a 700K trucker convoy headed to Texas or whatever. Is it 700K? What is the number?
on track. That's a lot of trucks.
Well, the people that have organized this are the same people that went from California to D.C. with the truckers. I understand we're going to be joined by Canadian truckers. So these people are committed to a peaceful demonstration that we've had enough. The American people have had enough. We're demanding that the Biden administration do its job, enforce the laws on the books, and secure our border. 8 million people during the Biden administration. That's more.
Enforce the law on the books. Part of the problem that we were having versus Texas versus the feds was that you had Texas not abiding the law related to the border, and blocking portions of the border to keep from federal agents to be able to go there. And that's not upholding the law. It seems like they want to uphold the law depending on, the topic.
People during the Biden administration. That's more than the population of Ohio. This is the.
So hold on, that number he said.
And secure our border. 8 million people during the Biden administration.
So 8 million people. They like to throw those kinds of numbers around to make it sound like 8 million people entered the United States or whatever. They a lot of times that number is the number that was processed at the border or whatever. That doesn't mean that those people came into the country. But they like to throw that around to scare people and be like, oh, 8 million people illegally entered the country. If 8 million people illegally entered the country, how would they even get that number? Where would they get it from? How would they know that it was 8 million people? If they entered illegally and they were eluding Border Patrol and just entered into the United States, how would they know that number of 8 million?
That's more than the population of Ohio. This is the time for us to rise up as the American people and demand that our president do his job.
Well, I hope, again, I do hope that envoy is peaceful and organized and doesn't kind of, you worry about large movements like this. I mean, obviously, the Canadian trucker convoy you just mentioned ended up creating a lot of issues and supply chain issues, of course, where the Business Network, I had to ask that. But I do want to bring in Carol Ross. She's got a question for you. Go ahead, Carol.
Yeah, so this 700K truckers, who the hell is going to be providing goods to people? Who the hell is going to be doing the work that needs to be done? Like, the truckers are really important to our economy. If 700K of them are involved in this convoy, then who's going to be delivering all our stuff? Who's going to be doing that work?
I understand we're going to be joined by Canadian truckers. So these people are committed to a peaceful demonstration that we've had enough. The American people have had enough. We're demanding that the Biden administration do its job, enforce the laws on the books, and secure our border. 8 million people during the Biden administration. That's more than the population of Ohio. This is the time for us to rise up as the American people and demand that our president do his job.
Well, I hope, again, I do hope that envoy is peaceful and organized and doesn't kind of, you worry about large movements like this. I mean, obviously, the Canadian trucker convoy you just mentioned ended up creating a lot of issues and supply chain issues, of course, where the Business Network, I had to ask that. But I do want to bring in Carol Ross. She's got a question for you. Go ahead, Carol.
Yeah, Congressman, I love the fact that people are standing up and using their voices peacefully. But we know that bad actors in the past have co-opted these types of events and done everything they can to make the peace-loving Americans look bad. Are you concerned that there might be some sort of co-opting of this convoy?
That's always a probability, but you learn as you do these events. So they now know that might have been in the past. So they've got measures in place to make sure that does not happen. And I am hopeful that will not happen, because this should be a peaceful movement of the American people, joined by other nations if they want to come. This is the Canadian farmers, truckers. This is the German farmers. This is the French farmers. This is the Dutch farmers. This is a movement well beyond the United States, that people are simply tired of the overreach of their federal governments, and we're pushing back. Now is the time.
We continue, obviously, these proceedings against Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas. Where are we with that right now? Before we go, where are you with that?
Well, wants to impeach the secretary, and it failed because of Republican votes. I think that we will try again in the very near future. I thought we were going to do it last week, but I think we're close to doing it. And this time, I fully expect that impeachment to pass and him to be impeached, pass it to the Senate for an actual trial.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then what does that do for the American people? You know, the people that's here, that's struggling. It seems like this whole thing is supposed to be about the American people, like, how this affects us, right? But like this impeachment situation, like how would that help the American people? What does that do to move things forward? Pretty much this whole argument is I ask that question, what is it gonna do to help us? I don't know. It's a political year and things are getting crazy. What do y'all think? What do y'all think? I don't know. There's definitely something that needs to be done. But I think these people who are screaming that you have this invasion and this crisis, they're not really working towards getting anything done related to it, improving the situation. I think that they just want to turn it into a quagmire, just like everything that's happening in our politics, turn it into nothing getting done and people just shouting at each other.
An educated and united public cannot be controlled. Get organized.
Learn to be active.
We have nothing, in my opinion, we have nothing to go out there and campaign